Alright, so for anyone who doesn't know, I already made a video going over chapter 63, so if you haven't checked it out and want to know my thoughts on it, I'll leave a link to it down below in the comments and description in case you want to check it out. So picking up from the last chapter, Chin's now staring down Hades with only one arm here, and the crowd's now going wild for Chin, right? You can even see those guys from his backstory appear. Even the gods are watching the Chinese emperors crying and shouting for Chin to win. And in this moment of concentration, we see Chin start to think to himself. He says, I can hear them, the voices of the people. And taking a stance, he looks like how he did when he was younger. We're then seeing Chunyan and her son also worrying over him. She's watching the fight now in tears, and she thinks to herself, Ying Zheng, you've been fighting this whole time, haven't you? All to keep the promise you made with me. So just like Hades, Chin's also fighting for a promise he once made, but obviously on a much grander scale that represents more than just a promise. He's fighting to represent all of humanity as the greatest king. And going back to Kojiro, Hearst, and Okita, we're then seeing Kondo start to comment on how it's starting to look hopeless for Chin, but then Okita interrupts. He says no, Chin's eyes, he hasn't given up yet. And getting back to the fight, Alvatur's getting somewhat confused here. She looks at Chin and says, look, I know you don't want to give up, but what are you gonna do exactly? And contrary to what we had assumed in the last chapter, he tells her he's gonna use his armor form somehow, but because we've only ever seen him use it with both hands at once, not even Alvatur could believe him at first. But of course, after he convinces her, she takes the same stance that he does, saying no need to ask when she eventually trusts him. And like I keep saying, it's these moments between Chin and Alvatur that really help make this a solid ending to the fight, let alone one of the most deserving wins for any character in Ragnarok, I think. And then fusing back with the sword, we see them start to prepare for the next and final attack of the fight. Hades also starts to get ready, and he says to Chin here, I consider myself proud to have been able to fight you. And in this last moment of anticipation, the narration says, both gods and mankind, every eye upon the arena could sense that this next clash would be the final clash of Ragnarok round 7. So right when all of humanity and the gods are watching as Hades and Chin set the stage for their final clash, the first one to make their move is Hades, using Ichor Eos now for the third time. And using all of the blood that Hades could possibly use, he lunges himself directly at Chin, leaving behind this kind of whirling wind from the spear as he just blitzes his way right at him. And this next moment has to last only a few seconds. We see Chin meet the tip of Desmos with the Gojian sword, but he's then straight up using his heavenly hand of defense at this exact moment. And Kojiro and Okita are saying the exact same thing here, that there's no way his armor form could deflect it and avoid being crushed. And right when the force of Ichor Eos is about to shatter Chin's defense, you can see Gol and Brunhild are probably assuming the same as Kojiro and Okita, that there's just no way Chin could counter this, but then using the exact same combination that we saw in chapter 58 of armor and then crossbow form, Chin uses Tortoise Ripple directly on Desmos now, and instantly the power behind Ichor Eos becomes weaker. But even more than that, because he was able to combine his heavenly hand of defense with the Gojian sword, all of the force that was previously behind Ichor Eos is being set over to his sword instead. And this is what I've always loved about this fight, the way it calls back to previous moments in it, but it's also what made this almost feel like a chess match at times, right? Because it's obvious how much stronger Hades is than Chin, but it's the way Chin calculated where to find his opportunity in the pocket that makes what happens next feel so deserving. And taking a moment here, Chin says to himself, he says, I have not forgotten, not even for an instant. My life began from the end. That was when Chunyan, when mother showed me a king is one who arises from the end and brings about the beginning. And not even manifesting the full power of this next attack yet, you can see his sword starts to split Desmos at the tip now. This even starts to cause the blood on Hades' body to seemingly flare out without control. But then using this combination attack called Chiyo Armor Sword Form, Shi Huang Guard, and Yan Cut, Chin just absolutely shatters Desmos until there's only like half of it left remaining in Hades' hand now. Alright, but this is the big moment, guys. Hades just looks down at Chin here. He says magnificent when you can see the Gojian sword piercing Hades right in the chest. But just like Poseidon in his fight against Kojiro, he makes one last effort to fight back when Chin just slices Hades through the heart. And I can't believe this is actually real. In his last words to Chin, he says to him, nothing less from a king. But as he's falling backwards and taking his last dying breath, he looks at the stands to see Zeus and Adamus in shock. He even remembers back to Poseidon, and he says to himself, my brothers, I cannot make good on my vow. I have failed as an elder brother. And finally and tragically, his final words as he lays down and crumbling into dust, he just says, forgive me. And right when Hemdall is gonna announce Chin as the winner, he almost starts to stumble until he plants his sword into the ground to catch his fall. And clearly he's He's barely alive at this point, but he takes a moment here to honor Hades' death. He says, "I am grateful that I could speak with you, King of the Netherworld, no, my friend." And as Chin and everyone bow to give their flowers to Hades, Heimdall finally says it, the winner of Ragnarok Round 7 is Qin Shi Huang, guys. Oh man, what a ride this was, guys. This whole experience from start to finish has definitely made this, without a doubt, my favorite fight and record of Ragnarok so far. And I know I already made a video where I go into my thoughts on Round 7 as a whole, but I just have to say it again, guys. I think this is a near flawless fight. Actually, I'll probably be making another video just to revisit this fight as a whole now that both chapter 63 and 64 are out, but overall I'm probably leaving here even more impressed, and even now it's hard to properly describe how strongly I feel about this fight, how I feel about Hades, how I feel about Qin, and so much more. Again, my video on chapter 63 should be up on the channel by now, so feel free to check it out if you haven't already. I'll leave a link to it in the description and comments down below in case you want to check it out. But that's gonna be the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and before I end the video, I just want to give a very special thanks to the channel's patrons, Iron and Justin. Thank you so much for your support, and for anyone wondering, I just recently opened up a Patreon where if you're interested, you can sign up too and get into this monthly Q&A I'll be doing now here on the channel. I should be posting the first one sometime at the start of July, so from now until the end of June, feel free to consider joining. You'd also be helping me out here in a massive way and get a special shout out like this in every single video. The link will be in the description below, or you could just search it yourself at patreon.com/Izanami. But other than that, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, I would greatly appreciate it, and of course feel free to comment down below what your thoughts are, anything you agreed or disagreed with, and if you're interested in more record of Ragnarok, then make sure you subscribe. I'll be doing more here on the channel like always, and yeah, have a great day.